effects, Cindy? Like, what is happening with New York City?
Well, I think it started, I read a bunch of articles that like when everyone went to work from home, like the city just got taken over by homeless people because like all the people who were going to work downtown in the high rises and would sort of, be filling up the sidewalks and stuff were they, the cops shoot them away and whatever. But when the city was deserted, they sort of just had free run of the place.
Also, I mean, a lot of, I don't know what's going on with housing the mentally ill there. I just don't know, but they all seem to be out on the street and a lot of them. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I do follow this one Instagram account, you guys, and I can't, I think it's something New York. I can't remember the name. If I come up with it, you guys, I'll post it in the, under the link when I share this, but it's just people send videos of like random shit that goes on in New York that's crazy to this account, and then they post it. And my favorite one was the maintenance guy was mopping up like in one of the subways, which is amazing to even think they even mop, but apparently they were. And this guy just comes running up and pulls down his sweatpants. He's got bare feet. It's in the middle of winter. He's down in the subway, pulls down his pants, and he starts shitting in the guy's mop bucket.
I saw that video actually.
Yeah. And then this lady's like, hey, he's shitting in your bucket. He's shitting in your bucket. And the maintenance guy turns around and starts like swinging the mop at him. And the guy, instead, he just like turns around and just like drops the load right on the...
Honestly, I don't know why they bother mopping the subway. I feel like mopping the subway is a job like trying to empty the ocean with a Dixie cup. Like, it's just not.
It should be punishment for murder, okay? Like, we're not, okay, you get an hour a day and you're going to go sweep up the shit subway.
Seriously. Well, coming from, like, Florida, like, where everything's so, like, shiny and new and clean, and like everyone has cars, there's no public transportation, and then like there really aren't, for the most part, like a little bit around Fort Lauderdale, Miami, but we really don't have such a homeless issue here, at least not one that's so visible. And so it's a lot when I go to New York City.
It's a lot for me too. I mean, the crime part of it, where I'm from, we have a very, very serious crime problem. Like noon, there's already 3-4 people shot and killed here. Like it's just all day. It's insane. But we have a lot of people that, on the expressways looking for money. But in Florida, it's like that too. But in New York City, it's a whole nother level. But I have a friend of mine who just got back from LA, and she said that like there was like 3 mentally ill homeless guys sleeping on the ground next to like an Aston Martin, whatever $500,000 car. Like it's insane to see the difference. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing too. Like in Jacksonville, we certainly have our crime problems, and there is a homeless presence here, but the city is very much like bifurcated. Like if you stay in this half of Jacksonville, it's all nice cars and nice shopping malls and safe and whatever. If you go to this side, that's where all the bad stuff happens. But like places like New York City and LA, it's a lot more jumbled up, and it's harder to avoid. Everybody's all mixed up together.
Yeah. So Florida as a whole, on average, has 28,000 homeless people as a whole. New York City on its own has 80,000.
Wow.
LA has 65,000. So Florida as a whole state has less than half of what just LA, the city, does, and less than a third of what just New York does. Which, for how hot Florida is compared to New York, that's crazy.
Well, yeah,
I can't believe anyone would want to be homeless in New York because it gets so cold. California, if you want to be homeless, California is the place to go.
Or Florida. I'd be heading down there.
Well,
except it's really hot in the summer.
Well, you guys got bugs.
The thing have anybody ever been to Skid Row?
No. I've been past it.
I went, we drove through. It's something that you will never even believe you're in the United States of America. Like
I have not been specifically to Skid Row, but I've been real close to it and some other real bad areas of downtown LA. So yeah, it's wild.
So here, Edmonton had a terrible, terrible homeless problem. And it's one of the coldest cities in Canada.
I was going to say, what do you do if you're homeless in Canada? Everywhere's cold.
So listen, no, Vancouver is not Vancouver. It's really, really nice. They never get snow out there. So new mayor of Edmonton takes over and offers anyone that wants to get out of Edmonton that's homeless a bus ticket. He gave them all one-way bus tickets to Vancouver and cleared out like 75% of the homeless people in Edmonton.
So, you know, they've
Vancouver's just like, what the hell? He's like,
I was never able to get to the bottom of how true it is or not, but politicians in California have accused politicians in other states of doing that to them.
Right.
So,
well, Seattle and Portland were not any better. I mean, I drove for miles on the expressway and it was just miles of tent cities. I'm talking along the entire expressway, miles, but they let them camp out because they'll be right in the middle of the city on the streets with like structures that they've nailed with wood that you could tell they're not moving. You know what I mean?
A friend of mine, her and her husband moved from Florida to Seattle, and they're like in one of the suburbs just outside of Seattle. And she said, like, it's horrendous. Within 6 months of them moving there, they had 3 parks in their neighborhood. Within 6 months, they couldn't use any of them because they were full of homeless tents. And she's like, nobody moves them out.
Nobody moves them. They had chairs. They have couches on the sidewalk. Literally, they have couches set up. Like, it's insane. But for me, the most crazy is Venice. I'm like, you know what? You can just set up there. You've got beachfront property.
Like Venice, Italy, or Venice, California?
Yeah.
Venice, California.
I would be livid if I lived out there.
But the worst part of it too is like they're shitting in the sand. So you can't even go sit on the beach because where do you think they're all shitting?
Yep. Venice, California is basically just the fancier Skid Row. It's Skid Row with better scenery.
They're probably very good smelling homeless people because the ocean's right there. They can go swim every day and get clean.
I don't know about that. But, you know, the sad thing is, you know what, if you're going to, in Rochester, I mean, right now it is like, I don't know, 10 degrees and the wind chill, it's below 0. It's brutal. And, you know, they're out there and most of them are drug addicts and they're, you know, just looking for money to get their fix. And because who the hell would want to live out there? Now, I have a friend of mine who's got a child who's out on the street right now. She's not a child, she's grown. And she just goes out all day and begs for money, you know, gets the heroin, shoots up and then goes into the shelter at night and then gets up and goes. So a lot of the shelters, people don't want to be clean or they don't want to be in there by their closing. A lot of them close at 10. And if you're not in by 10, you're not getting in.
Right.
You know, but I mean, people say we need to do this. The answer, they're addicted to drugs. The majority of these people, or they're alcoholics. And
here, everybody's always like, the government needs to look after the homeless. The government needs to look after the homeless. The support is there. If people want it, you can get emergency housing and stuff like that. But a lot of them don't want it because they don't want to live.
My friend's daughter has been in and out of rehab. I don't know. I want to say at least 100 times over these years, more, probably way more than that. She's been set up with apartments, rent paid, given everything by the government. And it never lasts more than 6 months because she ends back out on the street using. So, and she, you know, she's been to several programs. There's so many options. I don't know what the answer is because if they're addicted and they can't stop now. You know, no matter what, you know, a lot of these people, the majority don't get clean. And right now, the biggest, you know, the thing that's killing everybody the most, fentanyl is the #1 killer in the United States, not guns, fentanyl, overdoses. And they want that. And I mean, we employ a lot of drug addicts. It's a kitchen. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's hard to find help, and a lot of them are on heroin or smoke crack. And I mean, I talk to them, and they will tell you, when people hear that they have a heroin that's laced with fentanyl that's so good it will kill you, they all want it. They want that.
A high schooler in Wichita here, and for the listeners that don't remember, I'm from, middle of the country, Kansas. But a high schooler in Wichita died this week at school of a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, my daughter, 3, 4, 5, 6 a week. I mean, constantly. They've lost so many of their friends to heroin and fentanyl overdose. And that's going to bring me to my next story. I don't know if anybody watches Euphoria.
No, but I've heard it's really, really good. All the guys at work are raving about it.
I watched like the first half of the first season, and I don't remember why I didn't finish it.
Okay, it's all right. So it's a lot. And the new season just came out, and I started, it's one of those things, Margaret, where they only drop once a week. It's HBO. It's not like a binge. So if you want to binge, you know what I mean? You got to wait, just like Jen was waiting for Dexter to drop. So it's kids that are in supposedly high school age, but it's a lot of drugs. It's a lot. Sam, you don't watch that?
I don't. It's one of those ones that it's like on the ever-growing list of crap I want to watch.
Okay. Well, you know what? For you, having daughter that age, it's completely insane. To people are like, it's wild to think like does this really go on? And I do believe like a lot of it is extremely exaggerated at that age, like, you know what I mean, that like the whole school isn't, it's a lot. But I will tell you that this first episode of Euphoria, if you guys do watch the opening first 15 minutes, it's
of the first season or the second season?
The second season.
I haven't started that one yet.
All right, like the first 15 minutes were like so. I mean, I don't know how to. I'm gonna sound like a woke millennial, but it was so triggering for me because it was something that like just really hit really hard, of my life as a kid, as a kid, and then I'm like, what? A lot of this is, it's crazy, but that shit like that happens to people. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Being like a lot of these kids are products of their environment, and some make it out and some don't, and it's about this kid's struggles, and his grandmother ended up raising him, and she was a crazy lady, and she shot people in front of him, and just like I don't know. I mean, it just reminded me of some stuff that happened when I was a kid growing up in my family. You know what I mean? Just, and then I thought to myself, well, I mean, my life, it was not that insane as the opening, but it was, there were some things that were like, oh, and I thought, maybe I'm just really out of touch about what these what are they, the Gen Xers now, Sam? What's your daughter?
Well, so Lily is Gen Z, and my son, she's 14, and then my son is 10, and he's Gen Alpha.
Okay, what would the 19, 20-year-olds still be? Z?
So they are like the end of the millennial, dawn of Gen Z. Lil's bringing up the end of the Gen Z, the 2000s, baby, the 2010s. All
right. Well, I guess for me to go on and on more about Euphoria, none of you guys watch it, but anybody out there that listens, I mean,
I watched at least half of the first season, so I know. I don't think it's very realistic for the average teenager.
Right. It's because it's.
I really need Lily to weigh in. Like I told her, we need to watch the show. Like I need to know, like, how much of this are your friends seeing? Because I've been a